Hey folks, I got kind of a big one to share this morning. I couldn't even sleep this morning because it was just driving me nuts. Like, I wanted to sleep in, maybe, fall asleep for another hour or so, and it just didn't work out because I couldn't quit picturing all this info in my head. Um, it said over this winter, I gotten a lot of downloads, and they're basically hinged on the idea of looking at 2D patterns or shapes as 3D shapes. Trying to see what's in the essence of the nature of them, This has taken me interesting places. So, like, one of them, it all started out, I was picturing like a barber's pole, right? And if you think of from the top of the pole and then the stripe, right? That's a 7, right? It turned into a spiral 3D shape, right? So I went from there and I started seeing that basically the shape of every number is in the previous number. So they all create each other basically. I'm still kind of mapping that out, but it's a little bit like, I might have already showed this, I can't remember, but it's a little bit like this. You see, the 1 is in the 2, the 2 is in the 3, and I think it goes further than this. I'm still kind of discerning exactly how that goes because this information just comes in like chunklets, right? But the reason I'm excited about this video this morning and I couldn't sleep is because I got total correspondence confirmation on what's been coming through for me. I'll share that in a minute. But it went further and I correlated 1 through 10 with childbirth, basically. Everything's multidimensional, so the numbers describe everything. That's the interesting part. But I'm going to lay down this 1 through 10 of childbirth real quick because it's interesting. So number 1 is the split between the labia. Number 2 is the yoni beginning to open. Number 3 is a spiral of energy activating the yoni or the birth canal. Number 3 is like a spiral, almost like those old phone cords. It's a chunk of like the old phone cords, spiral, right? So that's the birth canal activating. Number 4 is the cervix beginning to unfold. Number 5 is the first stage of cervical dilation, like the halfway point. Number 5 corresponds with halfway to 10. Anyways, number 6 is further dilation, like 90%. Number 7 is full cervical dilation. It's all the way open, like something opening. It's going open, like a right angle, right? Number 8 is energy climax as the diametric or inertial plane is crossed. That's when the baby's coming through the birth canal. Number 8. That's why it looks like basically like a twisted spiral, right? Number 9 is a birth newborn, and number 10 is mother and child. Okay, so when I started to correlate these things in multidimensional ways, and I found it very interesting. So then I took it one step further, and I realized all the numbers are based off of the model of electromagnetic toroidal flow, right? The numbers come from somewhere off of there, right? And all numbers, as we know, correspond with frequencies, and frequencies correspond with emotions. Therefore, all of our emotions can be sourced from somewhere in the toroidal flow of electromagnetism, okay? So, you know, realizing and trusting all that information that was coming through. And then, of course, the universe always, delivers. I ran into a video yesterday where this guy, he has a gift of noticing patterns, he says, and he learned the Hebrew alphabet, but he hadn't learned how to speak it. So he saw the book of Genesis in Hebrew, and he started just automatically noticing patterns in the characters, and he's like, "What's up with this?" He didn't know how to. He was funny because he kept saying, "If I knew how to speak it, I might not have noticed the patterns. I just would have went straight to what the words were." But instead, he noticed the patterns. So he arranged the pattern and discovered that Genesis in Hebrew maps out a toroidal field, and I was like, "Oh crap, this is it," Excuse me. So then he took it one step further, and let's see, where was I going with that? He said, let's see, where was I going with that? But basically, that all the characters came off of the toroidal flow, but he took it one step further and showed how you could take basically the essence of a toros and and make a shape. The shape to come up with, that's the essence of the toros. All they did was turn it different ways to get the different Hebrew characters. So it basically looks like a ribbon of flame almost, right? With the idea, and they also correlated it with the human hand. This is the most amazing part to me. This is the coolest part. So like, it's this little ribbon shape. It kind of spirals around the thumb, and then there's the four fingers are kind of together, right? So basically, the thumb represented the spiral that goes down into the middle of the toroidal field, and the fingers represent the outside of the apple, basically, right? So I thought that was very, it correlates on so many levels. It correlates with my Bruce Lee video I was talking about last time with the Kung Fu salute pose, how one hand is open and one's closed, and they fit together perfectly, right? This is kind of the same thing. The thumb is the center of the toroidal field, the diametric or neutral plane. It's your seed, basically the seed of your being, or the sun, right? And these reflect the sun, and they're like the moon when you show the motion and moving to get the different letters, right? But it corresponded with my video because the sun and moon always move in tandem with each other. Basically, the sun is just, it's like caught up in electromagnetic toroidal flow, and that's what creates the motions of the sun through the sky across our planet, okay? So I found that very exciting, very huge confirmation. What was I going to say with that? Let's see. So I wanted to share a couple of downloads I wrote that I felt like correlated with that pretty well. So here's the first one. Our connection to everything, and I do mean everything, that is a sensual experience, that is spiritual. Sensation is what was needed to trigger all of creation, and so just like anything, sensuality in excess could drown us. The trick is to keep grounded. But seriously, the head and the heart separately cannot lead to spiritual wholeness and stand to keep us polarized towards our experience. It stands to keep us polarized towards our experience here. It takes away the blessings of our birthright. Sensuality has a point where it reaches beyond physical borders. This is the point where we experience singularity, just vast, unbound, unwritten freedom, the thread and the needle sewing the sine wave of humanity. That is the act of the sexual alchemy, the thread and the needle, yin and yang, masculine and feminine. You need yin and yang to sew, right? To create anything. That's, anyhow. And then I just want to share this other one too, because I feel like it relates with it as well. But let's see. Where did I start with this? Because this is all about poles. God, there's so much always going through my head, and then when I turn on the camera, it kind of disappears a little bit. But everything is poles, right? Like our two eyes are poles, our mouth and the other end are poles, our two opposite hands can be opposite ends of a pole. And, yeah. Anyways, so I'm going to read this just for kicks, okay? Let's see. Pulled like a thread with tension. Let's see. This is concerning the global elites and icons, how they surround themselves with symbols of magnetism for an all eyes on me kind of effect. They get our attention, like wanting to emulate the rich, like the song Putting on the Ritz. This is the multiverse of emotion and cosmology, causality on all levels. When they sync up, it causes a chain reaction of cohesion, and like the raising vibration I described, causes a sort of freezing or a feeling of a scene's or a body's totality. In my early 20s, when I first awoke, I realized we're set up in a system that steals our attention by making us choose between supporting them or not eating. Attention is tension, and you can't have tension without a pole to raise the tent. So when they forced us to focus on what they wanted us to, they stole our pole, our sense of true north, leaving us disoriented. In military, we stand at attention. We are stiff like a pole with tension. I was just kind of describing a whole chunk of feeling of realizing just what they'd done to us. It's like, as I showed you, even the basis of our language comes out of electromagnetism. I mean, down to the oldest languages, so it's where it all started, and you could even correlate it to English too. So it's like the language we use affects our awareness of our cosmology. See, just like he was saying, even our hand. So it was an interesting one. If you pictured two of these, you would basically have like the Grail, like a Toro's electromagnetic field, right? Let's see if I can do this, right? Yeah. like a wine glass, you know, how it has a top and a bottom like that. Never mind. Anyways, I think you get me. Alright, folks, I'm going to leave it there for now.